All right. Hey, guys, it's Kevin again, and we are back here once again. Believe it or not, we have already hit the series finale of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It is in the books for now, as we like to say. This is, of course, our review of Episode 6, One World, One People. Very interesting episode. A lot of interesting stuff to talk about for sure. And we definitely have some opinions on it. Might not be the exact same opinion. I'll just say that right now. But before we do get into it, I do, of course, need to introduce my co-host here. For every Captain America, there has to be a white wolf. And of course, by Captain America, I mean Steve Rogers' Captain America, because, you know, the other one would be a little problematic if I said I was the other Captain America. But that's a whole other story. Anyway, let's just get to him. FilmFan0599.
I'm sorry, I was just laughing hysterically because, like, the and Don Cheadle thing. I'm sorry. It always makes me laugh.
And he was in one scene the whole show.
It was literally in one scene throughout the entire series.
Yeah, I don't know why he was credited as like a main character. They made me think he was going to be in it more, and like he was not.
And hey, is that Don Cheadle?
Hey, is that Don Cheadle? I did that at the Oscars yesterday.
Is that Don Cheadle? Anyways, but hey, what's up, you guys? FilmFan0599 here again, and yes, we are here to talk about the series finale of the Falcon of the Winter Soldier. I am pretty excited to talk about this episode because we both have some very, 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 and I mean very interesting perspectives on this episode. So it should be quite the review.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just get into it right now. I went into this episode pretty much with no expectations. I had no idea how things were really going to play out. I really was just hoping it ended in a very satisfying way. You guys know that I've been increasingly worried as the show has gone along that it was not going to end in a very satisfying manner at all. And, well, I'll give my thoughts in a little bit, but Double Nine, what did you think of this finale?
Hello. Yeah, I really enjoyed this finale. I had quite the good time with it. You know, there was a lot of things I did like about it. I did, you know, I enjoyed seeing my boy Sam Wilson finally, you know, taking up the mantle of Captain America. His suit was fucking awesome. I loved that. I just loved getting to see him become Captain America and stuff like that. And I thought it was just a really enjoyable finale. There are some things that I didn't like about it. There are definitely some issues that I did have with the episode. But overall, I did very much enjoy the episode overall, in my opinion. I thought it was a very fun finale, in all honesty.
So here's when things get a little awkward because this review, I said it before, we might not have the same opinion. This review is going to be very similar to episode 3, where this is an episode that Double Nine really enjoyed and I really did not like. Only difference is that this is actually my least favorite episode of the whole show. I really did not like this finale at all. To me, it was a complete clusterfuck that felt like a lot of the ideas of what they were building up to were just kind of thrown out the window. There were a lot of unsatisfying conclusions here. It left me with a lot of questions when I think it should have given me a lot more answers. Don't get me wrong, there were some things I did enjoy. I didn't hate this episode by any means, but I really did not enjoy this finale. I wanted to keep as open of a mind as I could, and I just found myself very underwhelmed by what we end up getting here. But I guess we'll just get into it because I do want to talk about the one thing that you already brought up. The way this episode does start off is pretty badass, I will say. When we have this GRC meeting and they're under lockdown and, you know, we see there's a flag smasher assault and through the window, in comes Sam Wilson. He is in full Captain America suit. We weren't sure if he was going to be under the Captain America name or under a different pseudonym of sorts, but it does seem like he is going by Captain America. And what did you think of this suit overall?
Yeah, I thought this wasn't going to include the wings because I thought he was done with the whole thing, but I don't know. Yeah. It adds even more to the badassery of the suit. I gotta admit, man, it's pretty cool. I really love it.
It's kind of like a good combination of like both of his time as the Avenger. Like he's not completely abandoning the Falcon moniker, which I like.
Yeah, for sure. I think, you know, I definitely do think, you know, like because he doesn't completely abandon the Falcon, you know, mantle and stuff like that. I feel like he just He combines it very well, and I really like that a lot with this. And yeah, I thought it was a cool looking suit, man. I literally was like, oh hell yeah, when I saw that suit on. I thought it was great. I really love it a lot. You know, it's a really fantastic suit. It's already one of my favorite suits as Kevin looks underneath his desk for something.
I'm trying to charge my computer.
I see. But anyways, but yeah, I thought it was great. I really loved the suit a lot, and I really enjoyed that whole opening action sequence where he's taking out the Flag Smashers. So I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the suit a lot. Like I said, there are a lot of things in this episode I did not like, but the suit was definitely not something I complained about. I thought they built up to it really nicely. It looked really good on Sam. It had a clear distinction from the Cap that we know to Sam's own version of Captain America, and it made me feel okay with like him being the leader of the Avengers, because I think this is where this is heading. I think moving forward, he's probably going to be the leader moving forward, and I'm definitely down for that. I think that the show has done enough to get us to accept that, and I think that's something that they did do a really good job with. Now, getting to the things I don't really love about this episode, we see that Bucky and Sam, they meet back up with Sharon Carter, which I was like, okay, great. Finally, she's going to have a bigger purpose now. We're going to finally see where this is all leading to. But I was also very confused because, as we know, she's the one who called in Batroc. Batroc seemed like he was someone that was going to kill Sam. It seemed like that's where they were really headed. So we get this scene with Carly where she's getting her allies to, you know, go after the GRC vote and things like that. And she calls someone, but it's not Sam that she calls, it's Bucky. And this dynamic was very weird to me, considering that. And here's why I had a problem with it, because it felt like, in terms of, and they do kind of fix this later on in the episode, but for Carly, it seemed like she had a much closer relationship with Sam than Bucky. So I didn't really understand why she called Bucky here and basically tells him, you know, what her whole plan is. And he warns her that she's going to remember everyone that she killed in her campaign and things like that. And, you know, tells her to not abandon it. And she ends up hanging up the call. And what did you think of this interaction between Bucky and Carly? Because I was very
I think it made sense in the way where it's like, because she even does bring it up. She's like, you know, you've been in this position before too. You know, you've done things. And I kind of like that he explains it like, yeah, I was, but you're going to regret this for the rest of your life. And you're going to think about all the victims you killed. So I liked it. I thought, you know, I thought it was interesting, honestly. I really liked it personally because it did make a lot of sense in that perspective. You know what I mean? I personally, you know, I understand with the whole, you know, like, oh, it feels a bit weird, but I understood it into that perspective. I thought it was pretty good, honestly. I really liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I do like that, but my thing is that I just would have liked more interactions with these two throughout the show. I think I would have probably enjoyed it more because they focused so heavily on her relationship with Sam. She never really got that one-on-one with Bucky, and I would have liked it if, and again, this is something that really is just a problem with the entire show for me. If we had more time, I think we could have had some more scenes between those two, but we didn't. So that's why, for me, it was pretty jarring what they ended up doing here. But we do get this moment where basically at this point, they are trying to stop Carly. They're going after her. I didn't like how we immediately got into it, though, because a lot of people have said this. It feels more like a movie at this point. It really does, because, you know, last week is like the calm before the storm, so to say. It's what you would get in a Marvel movie where like everyone's calm. You get a lot of the character development moments, and then all of a sudden it's just full on battle. It did very much feel a little jarring from us to go from the Sam suiting up to all of a sudden just this whole action sequence with the Flag Smashers, because that's what the majority of this first half of the episode really is. It's them trying to divert the attention away from the Flag Smashers, but also rescue everyone that might be in danger here. My other thing with this, and again, this could just be me, The other reason why I didn't really feel a lot of tension is because we really don't know any of the characters that they're saving. We don't know anything about the GRC. We don't know anything about these random civilians. So I just didn't really feel any real tension here. We know that Sam and Bucky are not going to die. I just didn't feel any real tension in this scene. It was, and that's compared to like last week where we get the great fight scene between Walker, Sam, and Bucky. There's tension there because we know of the conflict between all these characters. We know of the emotional stakes that are there. We know how important that shield is to all three of these characters. And here, I just didn't feel any real tension. I just didn't really care much about what was going on. And I didn't think they did a great job with the whole action set piece in this episode. I was not a huge fan of it.
I mean, I didn't have too much of a problem just kind of going straight into it, honestly. I think, I feel like we've had enough. Now, I will agree with you on this. I do think maybe we could have had a bit more buildup with the GRC themselves, but I do think everything else kind of leading up to it, I think, was already set in stone already. So I feel like just kind of jumping into it wasn't as bad of a problem for me, in all honesty. But I don't know. But I do agree with you with the whole GRC thing. I think maybe a little bit more development there. Maybe we could have, like, you know, and then maybe we could have cared more. But, you know, so.
Yeah, so we do get some good stuff, though. Like, I like when Bucky is saving them from that truck that's set on fire. That was a good moment for him. I like that we did get to see that. But then we get to easily my biggest complaint with this episode. And this is the stuff that really made me solidify that I just do not like this episode at all. We see Walker show up, and we had that amazing post-credit scene last week where it felt like Walker was going in with a vengeance. He was going after pretty much everyone. There were just no fucks given at that point. The problem is, yes, he is going after the Flag Smashers, but what I have a bigger issue with is the fact that at no point, there were two significant issues. One, it's the fact that this guy just killed someone in broad daylight. It's well known that he killed someone in broad daylight. He was stripped of wearing the suit entirely. The second he shows up, there should be like Secret Service or someone after him. Like they should absolutely be after Walker here because they know just how deadly he really is. They know how unhinged he really is. And there's already a lot of chaos going on. You know, they should have done something to try to divert Walker away from the tension. But my bigger issue is the fact that this whole time, Bucky and Sam are fighting alongside with him. There's no moment where they're like, maybe we shouldn't be working with this guy because he just killed someone in broad daylight. Maybe he's just going to make things worse. So this whole thing was so confusing to me. And I know I said this to you when I initially watched the episode, and I do very much still agree with this. I just think they should have taken Walker in a far more villainous direction. It would have worked more for his character. The idea that he's someone that was already in this position that he did not fit in, and the way that it fueled this rage inside of him, he should be pissed at Bucky and Sam. He should be pissed at them because of the fact that they took away the one thing that made him feel alive. This is the only thing he knows now. He only knows how to be Captain America. Even if he's shitty at doing it, this is the only thing that he knows at this point. And it just did not make any sense to me that the whole episode he's fighting alongside with them. Bucky doesn't seem fazed by it. Sam doesn't seem fazed by it. I don't know. I just didn't really get it. And that was easily the biggest issue with this episode for me.
That was really, I want to say that's really my only big issue with this episode. Like, if we're talking like, you know, pretty big issues. Yeah, I do think it was a really weird that, like, they would fight alongside him without like really kind of like without like really like it's like if nothing happened in a way. That felt a bit weird to me. Like if like, you know, like if maybe like, yeah, we'll have your help for now, but you know, but like, but don't think we trust you or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like, but you know, but like nothing really happens in that regard and kind of things like that. So I thought that was a bit weird. Like, and I do agree with a lot of people on this that I do think Walker, like, I think the much more interesting direction that they should have taken in was seeing Walker become pretty much a psychopath instead of going with the generic,
more like a Homelander. That's where I thought they were going.
Yeah, instead of going with the generic, foreigner terrorists, bad. You know what I mean? And you know, like you know what I mean. So I will agree on that. That I do think the true villain of this show should have been Walker. Like I felt like it was very clear throughout the entire show, and then they kind of just throw it off to the sideline. But yeah, I thought that was a bit weird too. You know, like just all of a sudden now, like like it's almost like nothing happened, and they're all just kind of like, oh yeah, hey John, how's it going? You want some tea?
Yeah, it very much felt like they almost forgot and again, it's not like this episode is with different writers. This episode was written by Malcolm Spellman, who's created the entire show. So like he should know at this point, Sam and Bucky do not like this guy. They have not liked him throughout the entirety of the show. There's never been a point where they've warmed up to him. He's basically been an annoyance the entire show to them. The only reason they fought with him is basically because he forced them to. He made it clear that like, I want to work with you. You have to work with me. Like he didn't give them a choice at that point. And here it felt like they're just willingly going along with it, and it just didn't make any sense. Like when he's interacting with Bucky, I'm like, this just doesn't feel right. Like there's got to be more going on here, and there just never is. And that moment where he's going to kill Carly, I really liked that because I'm like, okay, this makes sense. He has that vengeance against her. I really thought he was going to make things worse. I thought that's where they were heading, that he was going to get in here, he was going to make things worse, and it was going to become more of an issue. I would have actually really liked that. You know, maybe they give him a second chance and then they realize they fucked up. And then they realize they actually have to take him down. I think that would have worked a lot better. And then you can also tie in the Flag Smashers and go back to the idea that they're very much misunderstood. They're not really the bad guys here. Not necessarily have them teaming up with Sam and Bucky, but kind of come to an understanding that like, yes, you're a big threat, but Walker is the bigger threat right now. Walker is the one that's a danger to us all. We need to find a way to subdue him. That would have been much more interesting to me. And in episode 4, it seemed like that's where they were heading, that the Flag Smashers really weren't that bad. So it's just a very confusing direction for me that they've decided to go here. And I also think, like a lot of people, it's far less interesting than what they could have done. I don't like the idea that the Flag Smashers, because they are a little bit radicalized, are fully bad. I don't really like that. I wish it was a little bit more gray, and we just didn't really get to see that here. And I do like the moment that Sam has with Carly, you know, where he's trying to tell her, like, I don't want to fight you. I liked the way that whole thing went down, but I just needed more of that. And I know you've had an issue throughout this entire show, but what did you think of, like, the portrayal of the Flag Smashers in this episode?
Man, this has been kind of like quite the up and down roller coaster that I've had with these fucking characters. Because like I go from not really caring about them to actually kind of caring about them to not caring about them. Like, bro, like it's like leave me at one spot, goddammit. Anyways, but yeah, like bro, like I'm just like like I do gotta agree with people on this. Like I'm gonna be for real, I haven't really understood like most of the issues that people have had with this show. In all honesty, like you know, but this is the one I gotta agree with. Like why go into the I just like why go into this cliche direction with the show? Like it would have been far more interesting to go in the direction with, you know, John turning into a full-on psychopath, and you know, like you said, like you know, like he's the real threat, but instead, no, to go with the cliche, oh, foreigner terrorist bad, you know, like it's just it's like that's my only real issue with this episode. I think it's really my only like real big issue with the show in general. In all honesty, like I just like they just kind of failed with these characters. Like these are easily some of my least favorite characters in the entire MCU. Like. There's such wasted potential. That's the thing. It's such wasted potential.
I think the other thing that's like really disappointing about them is that the MCU has been on such an upswing lately when it comes to antagonists. They've been very consistent. This is really the first one in a while that I feel like is a complete dud. I don't think anything about the Flag Smashers really works. Specifically,
well, we also had what's his face from WandaVision. He was kind of a complete.
Well, yeah. But
so like it's I find it funny. We've been such on a roll with these villains, and then these two shows come along, and like shit.
Yeah. At least with that though, we still had Agatha, who was a great villain. Yeah. So at least we had that. But here, it's like it's clear they're committing to the fact that John Walker is not the bad guy. The Flag Smashers are bad. And Carly as a character, the other thing that really annoyed me here, and this, again, I assume this is not going to be as big of an issue for you, but we get this reveal with Sharon Carter. You know, we get this moment with Batroc. We didn't really know what was going on. Turns out Batroc was just there to lure Carly to him. It was a setup, you know, basically Sharon hired him in an effort to try to lure Carly there. And we see that Batroc finds out that Sharon is the power broker. And one, this is the most predictable reveal of all time. I mean, we clocked this like immediately. We said that she probably is the power broker here. But that's not my issue. My issue is not that they waited to reveal that she's the power broker. It's that I feel that by doing that, we wasted a very interesting arc for her where we find out that she actually took in the Flag Smashers. She raised them on her own and they decided to go rogue. She was almost like a mentor to them. And I really like that idea. I would have liked to see more of this Sharon Carly relationship, but we're never going to get to see it because Carly dies in this episode. And that was very unfortunate to me. I would have much rather this, and I've said throughout the entire show, I don't understand what Sharon Carter's purpose is. I don't understand what they're trying to get at with her. And now I understand what they were trying to do. But my problem is this all could have been fixed if we had just like an episode where we got to establish a relationship between Sharon Carter and the Flag Smashers. I think they should have revealed the power broker thing way earlier into the show. This moment would have had so much more of an emotional impact. And I think it would have actually made the Flag Smashers storyline that much better because you realize that Carly's now betraying her own. This is someone who's in a very similar position to her, where Sharon Carter's kind of have to fend for herself after everything that happened after the events of Civil War. And, you know, she kind of supported the Flag Smashers in what they're doing, but they've gone against her wishes. And now she has to be the one to ultimately take her out. And I think that's really devastating the way that whole thing went down. You know, I think that would have been much more impactful if we knew this prior. But what did you think of this reveal? I know you haven't really cared for the Sharon Carter character all that much, but what did you think about this?
Well, I will agree on this that, yeah, if they had revealed this, a bit earlier than right now, because we kind of already had figured that she was the power broker. So,
oh yeah, it was so obvious.
so like if they had kind of revealed this a bit earlier, I think more people would have cared and, you know, not seen her as a wasted character, you know, and stuff like that. But you know, I don't know, like, it's just like, you know, like, I kind of figured that's where we were going here, like, you know, yeah. And so when the reveal, like, when she was like, oh, I'm the power broker or something like that, I don't remember exactly what she said, but, like, I don't know, I was just kind of like, oh, yeah, I mean, I kind of figured this within, like, the, you know, like, ever since, like, the ending to the third episode, you know, I kind of felt that I knew this was coming, so, but yeah, I mean, the one thing I didn't expect, though, was I liked the whole thing where, like, she took in the Flag Smashers, all this, all that, you know, that was some cool stuff. I like that, you know, and stuff like that. But like I said,
for me, it's just really a show not tell thing. I would have liked to actually see that rather than just hear about it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, like I said, I don't know, it just really, like with you, it just really wasn't that much of a shock, to be honest.
Yeah, it wasn't. And I think my issue is really the fact that the entire show, I've been struggling to figure out the purpose of Sharon Carter as a character. And here we finally have it, but it's too late because Carly's arc is over. The Flag Smashers arc is over. We needed to get this a lot earlier. And I think it would have just had a much deeper impact when, you know, she's calling in Batroc and things like that. We're realizing, oh shit, this is like her last ditch effort to try to subdue the Flag Smashers, to try to get them back on her side. It just would have changed her entire narrative in the best way possible. And they just didn't really do that. And so it just really frustrated me. I've had significant issues with her the entire show. Not because I don't like where they're going with her character. I do like where they're going with it. I just never felt that they earned it. I never felt it was earned in the show. And I think if they would have just, again, taken an episode to establish her backstory, establish her relation with the Flag Smashers, then I really could have gotten behind this, but they never did. So to me, I just didn't care. I just didn't care. And I wanted to care. I really did, but I just didn't care. And I think that's the reason why it's a big deal to me is because I feel like that's such an important part of the show. And the fact that it really was never delved into until now, that's why it really frustrated me as much as it did.
Yeah, I feel you. Homie.
Yeah. So that's basically how the first half of the episode ends up ending. You know, we see that Carly ends up dying, and I didn't really like the fact that Carly died here. Like I said in episode 4,
did she die though? Because like Sam,
yes, she did.
Oh, she did. Okay, all right. Because I was kind of confused by that. Because I was like, she died. She's dying and stuff like that. And then Sam's like, take her to the hospital. I'm like, oh wait, is she still alive? Wait, I'm confused.
No, but, it was definitely like a mortal wound. Like there was no recovering.
Because when she like
also hello, we have a viewer.
Yeah, hello. Anyways, but but no. I thought the whole fight scene between the two of them, because I think we didn't talk about that, but the fight scene really between Sam and Carly was good, because Sam doesn't want to fight her, obviously. I like that.
I like that.
I like that too, and I thought it was really well done. In all honesty, it was good. And then like when she's I don't know, man. Like I don't know.
I really don't think she should have died. I would have much rather liked it if Sam was able to maybe find a way to turn things around and like kind of take her in under his wing, because they had a really interesting dynamic going on in episode 4 where it felt like they kind of had the same cause, but he just thought like she was doing the wrong things. Like she wasn't like he liked her cause, but he didn't like the way that she was going about it. And maybe he could find a way to like turn that around. But instead, you just kill her off, and it just makes her a lot more disposable as a character. It's like Carly as a character is not someone we already weren't really going to remember her, but this especially, it just makes me question, like, what was even the point of her as a character? What were we really trying to do aside from we just needed a threat the entire show, when I feel like you had a threat in Walker? It just was so disappointing to me. And then when we get that moment with the other Flag Smashers where, they're in that truck, it seems like they're going off to prison, and then they're car bombed by Zemo. Again, I didn't give a fuck. I didn't give a fuck that Zemo ended up winning there.
My boy Zemo striking again.
I didn't feel that it was, I didn't feel that it was satisfying. I understand that Zemo has been wanting to go after them, but I don't think that Zemo should have wanted to kill them. He should have wanted them to just not have the serum, because he believes that superheroes are bad. He doesn't feel that there's that gray area. He feels that superheroes in general are morally bad and that they're too superior. And he feels that even if they're doing things for the right reasons, it's not, it's not for the right, even if it's for the right reasons, it's not really in good faith. And it's not something that is, really benefiting him overall. So I don't really think he should have wanted to kill them there. Again, it felt like, we need something for Zemo to do. So he kills the Flag Smashers. And I didn't care. I thought it was dumb.
I didn't think it was dumb. I mean, it was very much, I don't know. I thought, like, when we see the car explode, I was like, damn, was this a part of their plan all along to, like, self-suicide and shit? No, we cut the Zemo, and he's like, oh, shit, that motherfucker mastermind. Oh, shit. I thought it was a cool moment. I liked it.
Yeah, again, it's really just I would have liked for Zemo to have more of a character in this show, and I just didn't really feel like, again, similar to Sharon, I would have liked more of a backstory with Zemo, which is something that the show teased us. The show teased us when it was happening that, like, we're going to dive deeper into Zemo's backstory. We never really did. We never really dived into it all that much. We know a couple things about him, but we never really dived into Zemo as a character. We know about as much as we do in Civil War, and that's kind of it. And I just feel like it was a wasted opportunity overall. So yeah, again, just another character they could have done a lot of good work with, but they just never really properly utilized in the right way, at least for me. So that's why that was, again, very, very frustrating for me. Because again, I think they could have made that work, but I just didn't care, because I didn't feel Zemo as a character was needed in the show overall, which I know I talked about last week. Mm-hmm. So that definitely annoyed me. But I will say, Double Nine, The second half of this episode, after the action stuff wrapped up, I liked it a little bit more. I thought there was some good stuff in the last like 20 minutes of this episode. That's kind of what saves the episode for me. This is where we get to the good stuff where basically Sam is talking to the GRC. They still see the Flag Smashers as terrorists, and Sam's trying to get them to understand that, like, no, these are not horrible people. They might be misunderstood in that way. And I really did like this speech where he talks about how, you know, they need to not, they need to not put them back where they were. They need to open them up to the society. They need to give them those opportunities because there's going to be other people following them. There's going to be other groups that are trying to copycat off of them, and that it's going to be worse than the first one. I thought this was a really powerful speech overall, and it definitely did work for Sam as a character. You know, when he's talking about how he's a black man in this suit and people are looking at him weird. And then after the speech, they start to accept him. It was a really satisfying moment. It was one of the only moments in the episode where I'm like, this is satisfying. This is a good end for this character. This makes sense, you know, what they did here.
Oh, you want me to talk? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But anyways, but yeah, I really liked this a lot too. I thought it was a great moment, honestly. I thought the speech was really fantastic, honestly. Like, I thought it was done really well, honestly. Like, I really loved it a lot. Like, it just really really hold on one second. I gotta close my door. I just stalled.
Yeah,
It'll take me like 2 seconds. Stall.
All right. Yeah, I think Sam as a character, you know, I'll get into this later, but one of the only few characters in the show that had a satisfying arc. So that's why this moment really worked for me. But go ahead. We're talking about the speech.
Yeah. The speech was really great, honestly. Like, I really loved it a lot. You know, it just was really fantastic. And it was just really great stuff, man. Like, I really loved it a lot, honestly. It was probably my favorite moment of the episode, honestly. Probably this and like another moment that I'm pretty sure we're both gonna agree on. Was probably the best moment of the whole episode.
Yeah, I really like this speech a lot. I thought they did a really good job in. Again, we already understand where Sam is coming from. He's gone through a lot as a character. He understands Isaiah's struggle as well. And it shows that at the end, you know, he's able to convince them. He's able to convince them that, yeah, he has a point there. They're taking him seriously now. It's a really good arc for his character where it started off with him being screwed by the GRC and them not being honest with him about their true intentions of what they were going to do with the shield to now almost getting behind him. I just wish we could have gone a little bit more with the GRC. I think they should have been more of a villain overall. We didn't really get to see a lot of them, but I do think this speech overall did make up for that. I liked what we did get in this speech and basically him convincing them to not relocate all of these people and do what they can, you know, make those humanitarian efforts because there were good things the Flag Smashers were doing. And I like that. I just wish, one, the show portrayed the Flag Smashers in the way that Sam is referring to them. Two, I wish we could have just gotten more of the GRC overall. But other than that, I really did enjoy this scene a lot.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Yeah, definitely one of the better scenes for me. But so we then get like a bunch of, you know, end scenes for these characters. And let's talk about the way that Walker ends this show, because I'm honestly really confused how we're supposed to feel about this. We see Valentina De Fontaine again, you know, Julia Louis-Dreyfuss's character. She finds out what Zemo's doing, saying like, this is all going according to plan. This is working out perfectly for us, you know, knowing that Walker wanted to get his vengeance on this group. And basically she gives him this suit, which is now coated in black. He's being referred to as U.S. agents. And I don't know about you, but I had a very hard time figuring out how are we supposed to feel about this scene? Is this the birth of him being a villain? Is he going to be... I
think that's what this is supposed to be, because I think in the comics, he U.S. agent, I think, is a villain or an anti... I'm not so sure in that area, but I think this is supposed to be that, like, he's becoming a villain, I think. I think that's where this is supposed to be going. I don't know too much about, like, the character of U.S. agent, but I do. But yeah. I think he is a villain. So I think that's where they're going in this direction. I don't think this is a, like he's now redeemed and stuff like that. No, I don't think that's where they're going with this. I think this is going a much more villainous path than I think most people are thinking, in all honesty.
See, that's why I had an issue with this scene, because to me it felt like they were trying to go in like a redemption type direction for him, and I just don't really buy it, because it feels like he's ending the show basically with no consequences whatsoever for what he did. It's like, oh, you ended up murdering someone in broad daylight. Well, you don't have this shield, but now you have a whole new suit of your own. It's like, you get what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't really feel like he learns anything. It didn't really feel like he went through any specific arc. It feels like it was kind of thrown out the window here, and it's more just going to be and I think we all knew that there was a possibility that Walker was eventually going to be in the next continuation, that he was going to be in something else moving forward. But this scene overall was just very hard to tell what they really want us to get out of it. And I hope it is going in that villainous direction, because that is where I want Walker to go. But it was just hard for me to tell in this scene, to be honest, with the way it was portrayed.
I mean, I could understand if maybe you don't know what the because like I said, I don't really know much about the character beyond the basic side I know about it. Yeah. So
I know in the comics he's like a horrible U.S. agent, is like one of the most despicable and disgusting characters in the entire MCU. But I also know that this entire show they've done something very different with the John Walker character. Yeah. So I legitimately don't know at this point what they're doing.
So maybe they're going in that direction. I would assume so, because that, so that's what I'm just assuming. I'm pretty sure, especially with Julie Louis-Dreyfuss's character being a very villainous character herself. I would imagine that this is where they're going with it. So that's just what I think.
Yeah. I mean, I certainly hope that's what they're doing, because if they're doing anything else, I don't really like that at all. But then we get the scene that for me was the most underwhelming of the entire episode. And I think you'll disagree with me on this. So we saw last week that Bucky basically realized that he needed to make amends with Yori. We get this scene where he basically confesses to Yori what happened, and for me, the problem with this scene is that it was just too quick. He comes in, he tells him that he's sorry, he tells him what he had to do. I don't like the fact that it was montaged through. I don't like the fact that it felt like he went in and then he immediately went out. I just felt this scene should have been a lot more impactful, and I honestly got nothing out of it. It happened and I was like, oh, that's it? I expected a lot more from this scene, and it is a satisfying end for Bucky, but I just needed more to it. In contrast, the Isaiah and Sam conversation last week, the reason that scene was so impactful is because it went on as long as it did. We were able to really see the pain that Isaiah went through, whereas it feels like with Yori, they just kind of skipped through it, and I just didn't really feel much impact with this scene, unfortunately. I don't know. What did you think of this whole scene?
I don't know. I don't know, because I don't really necessarily agree that it was just kind of rushed through, but I feel like maybe there could have been a little bit more in terms of a conversation, but I don't know. I feel like there was already, maybe it could be a fault that there's a bunch of things going on in the show, and, there's a lot of shit that they had to wrap through, but I don't know. But I mean, I enjoyed the scene. I thought it was really good. I liked, that Bucky finally had the courage, to, confess to, Yuri about what happened and stuff like that. And I thought it was pretty good. Maybe it could have been longer, but I thought it was pretty good for me, honestly.
Yeah, I did like when he showed his therapist that he completed the list and he's done with that. It showed that she did do some good work. I like that we did get one last appearance from her. That was a good ending for me. I liked the way that was done. So I definitely did enjoy that. But again, for me, it was just the execution of the Bucky and Yori confrontation. I expected more. Maybe I expected a little bit too much. But it just did not leave the impact that I really wanted to. So that underwhelmed me a bit. But we then get what is easily my favorite scene in this episode, where Sam goes to Isaiah, basically explains to him, what he's doing now, and that even though he understands the fight that Black men have gone through, he feels like he's the one that needs to be fighting. He needs to be the one to protecting, he needs to be redeeming his cause in a sense, kind of doing the work that Isaiah was not able to accomplish. And you see Isaiah is finally starting to warm up to it. And not only does Sam get Isaiah to finally kind of listen to him, but he takes him to the museum that we saw in like the first episode, and essentially he takes him to this exhibit, and we see there's this whole memorial about Isaiah and the work that he's done. So people actually do know it's no longer protected. It's no longer covered up in the way it was. And I love this moment so much because we understand the pain and trauma that Isaiah has really gone through, and the way that he felt so disillusioned by everything. He wanted absolutely nothing to do with superheroes. And you see him by looking at this exhibit and people finally understanding, you know, what he really did. The fact that he had this super serum and the fact that it could have done something great. You know, now people at least know the story. It's no longer something that he has to keep inside of him. It's finally being released to everyone. It feels like a weight lifted off of his shoulders. And it was just, I loved how he very slowly like smiles, and then he ends up like wrapping his arms around Sam. Just, that was the best moment of the episode for me. I think they've done such a good job with that dynamic. I honestly couldn't have asked for anything more. It was probably the one scene in this episode that legitimately felt perfect. I wouldn't change anything about that scene. I think they did such a great job with that.
I can't even lie to you. I almost fucking cried. Like, I thought it was
I did too.
really powerful scene, and I really loved it a lot. Like, just seeing like now, you know, finally like Isaiah's story is now like he doesn't have to keep it in anymore, and like just knowing now people will know what he's done. And I just love that line where Sam is like, now people will finally know what you did for this country. And it's so great. I love it a lot. It was such a fantastic scene. Like, it was amazing. It was definitely, I'd say it's probably my favorite scene of the episode as well. Maybe even my favorite scene of the whole show, to be honest.
Yeah, I really loved the way that was done. I thought it was so satisfying for both Sam and Isaiah. And the way we do wrap things up here, it wasn't bad. You know, we see Sam and Bucky. They go back to Sam's hometown where he's now with Sarah. It seems like they're holding this cookout of sorts, and you know, we see them watching out on the horizon, and we get that title card of now.
I thought, can I just say this real quick? I thought this was a wholesome as shit way to end the episode. In all honesty, I just loved it so much. I just loved like seeing Bucky and Sam, hanging out and stuff like that, like at that cookout. Like it was, and then just that shot of them looking out at the horizon. Like I could, like it was so perfect. And then, like you said, that title card. Captain America in the Winter Soldier. Perfect.
So good.
Perfect. I loved it.
Yeah, I really liked the way they wrapped that up. But unfortunately, I did not really like the mid-credits scene that followed this episode. I was not a huge fan of that very much at all. We get this scene with Sharon Carter where basically she receives a pardon from the government. She's now in her position. She's now being referred to as Agent Carter like her mother once was. And she ends up leaving the Capitol, and she calls someone from Mandrapore, says she has like access to like some sort of government resources. We don't really know what's going on here. What do you think this is heading towards, Double Nine? Because I don't really know.
This is actually the first time I've actually been quite interested in the character of Sharon Carter throughout this entire fucking series. If I'm being honest with you, I'm very interested to see where this is going. Cause she's like talking like, we're in, boys. Like I'm like, what the fuck is this leading to? So I'm very curious to see where this goes. Honestly, with her character, it's going to be quite interesting. Especially with the fact that we got Captain America 4 now.
Yes, we do have to talk about that. They did announce after this episode, a lot of people were speculating, is there going to be a season 2 of this show? Are we going to get more? No, the show is done, but we are going to see a continuation now with Captain America 4. And I'm assuming we're going to see a lot of these characters like Walker and Sharon again. So I'm interested in seeing what they're going to do. Definitely.
I'm sorry, but no, I'm very curious, honestly, because like where could this really lead into?
Yeah.
Now that we know that there is a Captain America 4, where could this lead into with Walker now being U.S. agent? Maybe he might be the villain. Maybe he might be the villain of that. We'll just have to wait and see, honestly. I'm very curious, honestly. Like, this gets my excitement up really, really, it gets it really, really high up there.
Yeah, I do think there are definitely some avenues they can take these characters in within Captain America 4 that might give me some clarity, but I'm going to say something that a lot of people have said. I don't like the idea now that characters are here just to set this up or just to set that up. I needed more of a purpose for them in this show, and we just didn't really get it. And maybe we'll get in Captain America 4, but that's, again, why it was just frustrating to me. You know, we had that scene with Sharon Carter back in episode 3 where she's on the phone with someone, and now she's on the phone again. This entire fucking show, she's just been on the phone with people, it feels like. And of course, she fittingly ends
relate to that so much.
She fittingly ends the show with her also being on the phone. But I mean, I guess it was an all right way to end the finale. I guess it was an all right way to wrap things up. But we'll just getting into the directing here. That's definitely one of my issues with this episode. I just felt the tone was all over the place in this episode. It was very hard to tell how we were supposed to feel when it came to certain characters, especially the Flag Smashers and Walker especially. I just felt the tone was very much all over the place. It felt like a race to the finish, very much so. And I think Kari Skogland has done a good job with a lot of things in this show, but I just felt this episode was very tonally inconsistent. It was hard to tell. Are we supposed to be on their side? Are we supposed to be, are we supposed to be seeing the Flag Smashers as the bad guys? Are we supposed to be fearful of Walker? Like, it just was very hard to tell throughout a good majority of this episode for me. I think once the action stuff ended, I thought the directing got a little bit better. But for me, at least, I thought this was definitely the weakest episode in terms of directing.
I thought the directing was pretty solid, overall. I thought with the action sequences, it was really good too. So I thought the directing overall for this episode was pretty solid. The writing, on the other hand, though, it was very mixed bag for me. There's some parts where it's really good. There's some parts where it's really good. And then there's some parts where it's like, there could have been some improvement here.
Yeah, getting into the writing, for me, this episode just felt very muddled. It felt like we were so destined to just, we got to get to this. We got to get to this. Oh, no, we got to get to this. Now we got to do this. And it felt very much like that. We never really had any breathing room throughout this entire episode. Like when Sharon Carter's revealed as the power broker, for example, we don't really get a lot of time to dive into that because, oh, now we got to kill Carly. Oh, now we got to kill Batroc. We get the moment with Walker, and it seems like he's fighting alongside Bucky and Sam. There's never that moment where it's like, maybe we shouldn't trust him. No, we're just going to have him not be as big of the threat, I guess. And that's where we end up going with him. We get the moment with Bucky where now he's got to make amends with Yori. It's very haphazardly done. There never was that moment where they really took their time and we really got to just let things breathe a bit. It felt like that's what I loved so much about last week's episodes, that we did get that time. And here, I think it just needs to be a lot longer of an episode. I know we talked about this like back in episode 4, I think, but like this episode definitely should have been a lot longer. I think it would have been a lot more satisfying as a result, because for me, the writing was very subpar in this episode, aside from the Sam and Isaiah stuff. That was pretty great, but everything else, very, very mediocre.
Yeah.
So I don't think they did a great job with that. I already talked about the action in this episode. I thought there were definitely some great action set pieces, like the overall suit, Sam being revealed as Captain America. Really great moment. I did like a lot of the action sequences here. The scene between Sam and Carly were great, but I'm not going to lie. I did find a lot of... Bless you. I did find a lot of the action scenes here quite forgettable. It just didn't have the impact of like the battle between like Walker, Sam, and Bucky. I think that's easily the best action scene of the entire show. I think that's the action scene I'm going to remember most from this show. I do think cinematography wise, it was a fine episode. I thought, nothing looked bad or anything, but I just needed more, in terms of like the big climax. I just don't really think they delivered in terms of the action for me.
No, I disagree with that. I thought they delivered pretty well with the action, in my opinion, of course. I thought the action sequences were really good, honestly. Cinematography looked really well, as it usually does in this show. So, yeah, I thought they were really good.
Yeah, and the score is always, we've talked about how good Hugh, we've talked about how good Henry Jack. I almost said Hugh Jackman. We've talked about how good Henry Jackman's score is throughout this entire show. Hugh Jackman composed the score. That'd be a very different show for sure. I kind of want to see that. Hugh Jackman breaking out as a composer. Let's see it happen. What can you do?
I mean, there's been some actors that have broken out as composers in the past, so who knows?
No, definitely. I mean, Anthony Hopkins has done it, so like it's possible.
Exactly.
Make it happen.
Two-time Academy Award-winning actor Anthony Hopkins now.
Yes. Make it happen, Hugh. Make it happen. No,
yes.
Seriously, though. Henry Jackman's score has definitely been one of the most consistent elements of this entire show. I love the score that he's composed. I think this is definitely some of his best work yet. And I think that's definitely been, again, one of the most consistent things of this entire show for me. And that definitely bled into the finale for sure. I really enjoyed his score in the show.
Oh, yeah, I agree. The music, as always, is fantastic with the show.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was not a huge... I already talked about the editing and how the episode, I think, should have been longer overall, but I just wasn't really satisfied with this finale. Yes, we had some good moments with Sam and Isaiah. We did have some good reveals overall, but I just needed more of a narrative purpose. When it comes to Sharon Carter, we do get that, but it felt like it was happening a little too late. When it comes to Walker, you build him up as it seems like he's going to be coming after Sam and Bucky. He's got this vengeance, and then it feels like we completely retracted from that. We completely just did away with everything we set up last week because now we want to take him in a more redemption type arc, and now I'm not even sure where he's really going to go. The moment between Bucky and Yori, I should have felt a lot more impact from it, but I just really didn't. These are the things that really did ultimately bring down this episode for me. I think there were a lot of things that could have been a lot better here. I think there are a lot of things that if they dived into it more, I would have just enjoyed it. I think my biggest thing with this episode is, again, one of my biggest issues this entire show. It just was lacking purpose. It was lacking purpose. It was lacking direction. And ultimately, it just felt like a real race to the finish. I think we needed a lot more time to establish things for this to be a very satisfying finale. But for me, sadly, this went out more with a whimper than a bang. There were definitely some moments that did elevate it. Like I said, Sam's suit and the Sam and Isaiah stuff. But overall, this was definitely a very subpar finale for me. So I am unfortunately going to give the series finale of The Falcon and Winter Soldier, Episode 6, One World, One People, overall, a C.
All right, well, I'm going to give this finale overall. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. The more I'm talking about it, though, I will admit, I'll admit, honestly, going into this, I had a different grade for the episode, but then, the more we started talking about, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I didn't like about this episode, but I still enjoyed it because there are the good things do outweigh the bad things for me. But yeah, overall, I would say still I do enjoy this finale though. It is probably my least favorite episode of the series, but I still enjoyed it. It was still pretty good in my opinion. So yeah, pretty solid finale overall. I give it a B, a nice solid B. A nice solid B.
A nice solid B.
Yes. Yeah. Well, Kevin, do we do it now? Do we do the ranking of the episodes?
So I thought about this and I meant to talk to you about this before, but I think because this isn't like an episodic show in that way, I don't think this is a show that we really need to do that with. I think I can just easily sum up my thoughts of the season overall, and we can just, do it that way. Mainly because Mandalorian and WandaVision, there's, different things that happen every episode, but this show isn't really like that. It's a lot more streamlined in that way. So I don't really think that's something that we need to do with this show. So I'm going to give my brief thoughts on just the season overall, and then I guess you can do the same thing if that's okay with you.
All right.
That is what we are going to do overall. But for me, this show, I did overall like it. What? Okay. For me, this show, I did overall like it. I think there were definitely a lot of elements that did work here. I like getting to see the characters of both Sam and Bucky and them go through these journeys, them kind of go through their insecurities, realize who they are. aside from being just Captain America's most trusted allies. I think that was a good arc for them. Really, my enjoyment of the show really hinges on how much I care about those two characters, because aside from them, the rest of the show is very clunky to me. I think that John Walker was a good character throughout the majority of the show. I think Wyatt Russell really did kill it in his performance, but they needed to dive a bit deeper into his pain, into his anguish, into just how insecure he felt with taking on this position, kind of similar to how Sam felt conflicted with how to really feel. I think they needed more of a contrast there. They never really touched upon it in the way I wanted them to. And then focusing so much on characters like Zemo and Sharon and not really giving them much of a purpose at the end of the day, that really frustrated me. And then, of course, having the Flag Smashers, this group that I think had immense potential, but just really fell flat, in my opinion. I never felt as attached to them as I wanted to. And then when I finally started to, they took them in the most generic direction possible, and it just really did fall flat for me. I think there are quite a few elements that really did work in the show. I like the hard conversations that this show talked about when it came to race, when it came to PTSD. I like the fact that they dive headfirst into those things. I just think overall the show could have been a lot better in quite a few areas. It's one of those shows that I do overall enjoy, but it's one that I'm going to consistently think about how much better it really could have been. And I think ultimately what improves the show is just more episodes. I think we needed more episodes. I've heard people say that this probably would have worked better as a movie. I actually disagree. I think if we had at least the amount of episodes that WandaVision did, I think this could have been a really great show. We could have dived more into some of the motivations of Zemo and Sharon and maybe even Carly, but we never really got to do that because I just felt overall the show was way too short. There were a lot of elements that just didn't get the proper focus that I think they really needed. So unfortunately, it did end up falling a bit more flat for me than I expected. But I will say overall, my thoughts are still positive on the show. The good does outweigh the bad overall. I've really thought about this rating, and I do think ultimately I can give the Falcon and the Winter Soldier overall a B-.
Sorry about that, folks. My mom called me, so I had to take that real quick. First time
it's not as long as the WandaVision one where I had to wait like 40 minutes.
First time that's actually happened during one of these reviews. Actually,
yeah, that's funny.
But,
that's funny.
First for everything. But anyways, yeah, overall, my thoughts on this show, I personally really enjoyed it a lot. I really loved a lot of the things that we got into with Sam and Bucky and, with Walker and stuff like that. The action was great. The dynamics were really great too. I personally really loved the show overall. There are some issues that I do have in terms of like the Flag Smashers and maybe giving some development to some of those things a little bit more. But overall, I thought this was a pretty consistent show for the most part, in all honesty. And I really enjoyed it a lot, honestly. And I found this to be a particularly very underrated show, in my opinion. And I quite loved it a lot. So I'm going to give this series an A-, shebang shabang. I find it funny. We both give this finale a singular grade, like a B or C, and then for the season overall, we both give it like something with the minus. So I find that very funny.
Really funny. But other than that, guys, that's really it for our review. But before we do wrap things up, you know what time it is. It is time to plug all of your socials and your outro and things like that. So let's just jump right into it.
All right, you can find me on the Twitters, the TikToks, and the YouTubes at FilmFan0599. You can find me on all of those, all of those. Having a good time on all of those, and of course, you can find me on the letterboxes at WWEFan0599 because they won't let me change the username for some reason. And Kevin.
It just like how the GRC won't let the Flag Smashers be treated as actual people. The letterbox does not let you does not let you change your username. It's just so tragic the way that ends up going. It's very, very unfortunate for sure.
Them bastards.
I know, just absolutely disgusting. But Other than that, guys, this is for our review of the series finale of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Double Nine, we made it. We made it through this entire show. I'm glad that we did. I really did enjoy doing these reviews, especially because we didn't always agree. I think it was interesting for us to do a review where we didn't really agree a lot of the time on some of the decisions in the show. It was interesting to see your perspective versus my perspective. That's why I like doing these collab reviews, just, you know, getting to see other perspectives, getting to see different takes on the show. I think that's always really interesting to do. We will be back for Loki. We're not going to be reviewing The Bad Batch because this one says he's not interested. So
I'm not really interested. I couldn't lie and say like, oh, I'm interested to do it, even though I'm really not. But yes, though we will be back for Loki in June.
Yes.
I'm very excited
for that.
Very excited about that. And like you said, I made it through another 6 episodes, 6 reviews of reviewing something with this fucker right here. No, I'm kidding. But as always, I had a good time. You know, it's always fun to review these shows and stuff like that. It definitely gives me something to do, you know, and stuff like that. And I do enjoy it, honestly. Like it's very fun, and you know, I had a good time as always. I'm trying to stretch this out as long as I can so we can get to an hour. So
I was trying to do the same.
but anyways, yeah, thank you, Kevin, once again for having me on for these reviews. I very much appreciate it, as always.
Yes, this was a lot of fun to do. Very excited to dive into Loki. I think that's going to be a really fun show for sure. We will also be reviewing the first season of Invincible as long as this one ends up watching it.
I will get to it.
Yes,
you know, once I finished. Once I finish the first season, we will definitely review it. Don't worry, folks.
Yes, it's an excellent show, and I'm very excited to dive headfirst into that for sure. But other than that, guys, for our review of the series finale of Falcon the Winter Soldier, as always, comment down below. Let us know what you guys thought of this finale or this show overall. Love to hear your thoughts on it. We'll see you guys in my next video, and I will see you guys for that. I don't know why you're acting like fucking Spider-Man.
Wait.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
Fuck you. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? You fucking like shooting